Hello everyone, so you may have seen my previous video about my plans for my Halloween project. I'll show the code up on screen for it now. So that's the code. You probably have no clue what it means, but I'll explain in a second. So my Halloween project, I decided to do a special thing for Halloween, and without further ado, here are the 7 deadly sins as dragons. So yeah, those are the 7 deadly sins. They're dragons in the pictures. So I'm going to explain why I chose which dragon for which sin, and explain why I assigned each sin to each dragon. And I'm gonna do that now. First up, we have Pride. Now, Pride is a Nightwing, and you can probably guess why I chose it, because the Nightwings are all like, oh, we're the best, we have mind reading and future seeing, but they don't, and yeah, that's pretty obvious why I chose this one, but yeah, Nightwing's Pride. I went with purple because I felt like it went with Pride pretty well, and yeah, I, yeah, that's about it. Okay, so we have Greed now. I chose Sandwings for Greed because they have like all this treasure and I don't know. I just felt like it fit. Um, they're always greedy for more treasure and I felt like the green went really well with it, so I chose green. I feel like that's a good color for Greed. But yeah, that's Greed. I feel like I did pretty well on this one, but yeah, that's about it. So the third one is Envy. I chose Ice Wings for Envy because the Sea Wings and the Night Wings had magic animus powers when they lost theirs. So I figured the Ice Wings were like envious of that. So I chose Envy for the Ice Wings. I feel like the yellow is a pretty good color for Envy, along with a bit of green, because a bit of envy is also greed. So I mean, yeah, that's why I went with this one. I feel like I did pretty well, and yeah, that's about it. So the fourth one is Gluttony. I figured Mudwings were a good one for this one because they're always eating, at least I think they are. I mean, Clay and Atre, which are the only or Atre? I don't know. They're the only main characters that are Mudwings, and they eat a lot. So I mean, Atre isn't really a main character, but they all eat a lot. So I figured Gluttony would be a good one because of how much they eat, and yeah, that's Gluttony. So yeah, this one's definitely my least favorite one because I don't know, I just don't really like it that much. It's Lust, and I went with Sea Wings because that was kind of the leftover one. There's no really, I mean, I suppose Queen Coral had like 50 sons or 42 sons, but yeah, and 3 daughters, not to mention all the daughters that have been killed, so she would have to have a lot of children. So I figured Lust went pretty well with the Sea Wings, and yeah, I went with pink and purple, and I feel like I did a good job on this one, but it's still my least favorite. So this one is Sloth. I don't know, I just felt like Rain Wings went with Sloth pretty well. I mean, that's kind of obvious, but yeah, I did like a Sloth green. I feel like Greed was more of a Greed green with darker, but Sloth was lighter, so it was Sloth green. I don't know. I kind of like how it turned out with like the Z patterns, but instead of the circles, the Z's. But that's because it's sleeping, and yeah, and then with a little bit of yellow. Yeah, that's why I chose Sloth for the Rain Wings. It should be pretty obvious why I chose Sloth. Last, but most certainly not least, Wrath. I chose a Skywing for Wrath because they're like the most wrathful tribe, I guess. I mean they're red, and that's kind of a good color for Wrath. I tried to make the wings look like they were scorched, and I give them some scars, but yeah, I think I did a good job with this one. This one's probably my favorite. Either Greed, Pride, or Wrath. It's hard to decide, but yeah, that's Wrath. Thank you so much for watching my Halloween project video. It was pretty fun to make this actually. Each of them took about 2 hours to make, if not a little bit less. But with all the tweaking I went back and I updated a few of them. So that made them probably take about 14 hours total. So that averages out at about 2 hours. But yeah, it was really fun to make this, and thank you for watching.